Hi, Susan, and welcome to the End of Life Journey and Beyond the Sands of Time. My name is Lisa Strahs-Lorenc, and I'm a bereavement specialist. Hey there, good to
Hi,
see you.
Lisa. I'm Susan Capurso, end of life doula and legacy specialist. And we're so happy that you joined us today. So we're talking about something that could be a little difficult, loss during holidays. We've spoken about that before, but the spring is coming and new things are happening. And we're here today to talk a little bit about Easter and Passover and some of the ways we can adjust to these types of holidays, whether we're alone or with our family.
Yes,
Right, Lisa?
absolutely.
Yeah.
And it has a lot to do with our memories and what we move forward with, but it also has to do with creating new memories and, new occasions where we're happy. It's not the same. We can't make it be the same without the people who, were with us, but we can also figure out what means something to us and how it can make it important in our lives. So I
Right.
encourage people not to avoid the holidays unless holidays have always been a problem. And then it probably isn't anything new and it won't be any worse than it ever was. But I encourage people to really start thinking in terms of the things that made them happy. So I want to start with some nice memories. Let's you and I talk about memories growing up of our holidays and what we enjoyed about them. I'm going to talk about Passover because Passover was always a family time. I had a lot of relatives. And so Passover was cousins, and we would go to different houses, of course, to celebrate Passover. We weren't really religious, so we didn't do all kinds of religious things. Maybe we did a little Seder thing, but nothing really big. But we all brought a lot of food, and we all enjoyed being together. So my memories, have always been family and have always been that special, thing that you eat, things that were made. We all have our special foods that we enjoyed. Obviously the matzah, and I love matzah brie and matzo ball soup and everything matzah, matzo meal pancakes. And, I always went to school with them, so I didn't have bread. But, those kinds of memories really stick with me, especially family, especially getting together and enjoying the special time together. So, and one more thing, when we would go to my cousin's house, who had a really large home, we would hide the afikomen, which is the middle matzah that you put away. And even though other homes would just only give $1 if you found it, he always gave us $20. There was a big incentive to find that matzah. So we kids really enjoyed it and really nice memories. So what kind of memories do you have growing up, Susan, of the holiday?
Well, not very religious holiday, which makes me sad now. I wish it was. But I do remember it being a little more religious when I was younger. So it would be dressing in your best dress on Easter Sunday and maybe having a breakfast either before or after church. And we'd go to church. But my family wasn't avid on going to church regularly every Sunday. So it was just like an Easter thing or a holiday thing that we would go to church. And I wish that was a little bit more happening back then, for me as a child. But the main things that I remember is the Easter Bunny and being excited about going to sleep and waiting for the Easter Bunny. And the Easter Bunny always brought a big basket. And then we would get together with relatives and cousins, and there'd be a big Easter egg hunt and collecting the most eggs, and then just being together for the day and having some nice food and a nice meal together. And that's really how I remember it. What I did, I did what I knew with my boys. We'd get up, or we'd have a nice brunch or breakfast, and we would go to church once in a while, but we didn't that wasn't big in our family either. So it was the Easter baskets, the Easter egg hunts, again with the cousins, having a nice meal, everybody get together, just like Thanksgiving,
Yes.
but as I think back and look back, I wish it had been a little bit different, but that was just my situation. and my family members. And a lot of people do take this holiday, very, very, it's a
Yes.
spiritual holiday.
Yes.
And I like that part of it. I like that part of it. Did you incorporate that into your
Well,
family life?
let's talk about, so we did sort of our upbringing. Let's talk about now our time with our loved one. For me, with my husband. So he was Catholic and I was raised Jewish. And we came to terms with religion. We both felt the same way. But Easter was the time that we would go to Cleveland, Ohio, so that the kids would be with their two aunts and their grandma, their other grandma. So, and they did a lot of Easter things. They did a lot of cooking, and of course the relatives got together. We didn't go to masses and things like that. They might have gone. We chose not to. But the kids, did see the Easter Bunny and learned a little bit about Easter, and we always used to read books about it and such. And so that was sort of the Easter exposure for the kids growing up. In the Passover exposure, we were always going again to the relatives and having, as I said, a very short Seder or something, not hugely religious, but just the fact that we were all together as cousins. And that's how my kids grew up.
Right. And, depending on your experiences and your religious practices, Easter has always been a time of comfort maybe for you. And now, having lost a loved one, it could almost bring all that grief back up again, because something's missing, a piece of the puzzle's missing, and it's just not the same anymore.
So it's
And
not going to be, it's not going to be the same. And I think that we all, whoever we lost, need to understand that those people are not with us physically. There's not the same kind of dynamics or input or anything. But where I'm going with this is that at this point, we try to create new memories and new traditions. So for me, with my significant other, now I'm getting together with his family, and they have a very short Seder. There's some different foods that perhaps they're making than I might have made before, but it's still a family thing, just with some different family. So now my family's spread all over the United States, and I have a lot of cousins, especially on my mom's side. So about maybe 2 years ago, I'm not even sure whether it's last year or 2 years ago, I emailed all my cousins and I said, wouldn't it be nice if we did a Zoom? I wasn't Seder, but at least a Zoom, meet and greet with our aunt, who's like 96 years old now, out in Colorado. And I had 18 people on the line when I did this. Wow. And it was wonderful. And so it's created a new way of reaching out and a new way of, bonding together again. She was so happy. First of all, I spent a lot of time teaching her about how to go on Zoom with her aide and all that. And then making sure that everybody was all set to do this. But she was so thrilled to see everybody on that Zoom and to say, so what are you doing? And, how old is this person? And some kids were on it, little kids were on it as well, next generation. So that was really nice and really, really special. And something, again, that we created out of, loss or out of different.
Right.
So what about
Right.
You? Do you see different?
And then, well, things have definitely changed. So my house got quieter, after I lost my husband. But my boys are in a different place right now. This is several years later. They each have a girlfriend at the moment. We celebrated my son's birthday last night, and it was really nice because it brought the fun and the loudness back. And we were all in a restaurant with a few of their friends, and they invited me to come along, and it was different, but it was really nice. So as I think about Easter this year, I think, they of course have their families, but wouldn't it be nice if I can do something new? Something that we haven't done before, whether it be a brunch or lunch or dinner, depending on what they're doing, and make something, everybody has different tastes. The girls have different likes in the way that they eat, I'm noticing, and their food preferences. So really make a dish, something different that everybody likes, and just make the whole experience a little different. I think that as we talked about in a lot of videos, it's really important to do some pre-planning, to think of some ideas and pre-plan, because then the day will unfold and flow more smoothly when you have your ideas in mind. And ask for help. You know, if you're confused and you don't know what to do, and this is early on after a loss, and ask for help or support from other family members and friends to do things a little bit differently. Maybe you always had it at your house before. You always had the get together, and maybe don't feel bad to say, hey, can we change it up? Maybe I can come to your house this year. Maybe we can go to a restaurant for lunch this year, and to just do things a little differently. And by accepting these changes, I do think that we can come to terms with some new things in our lives, right?
I agree. And we're not saying to sugarcoat the fact that it's hard and that we may be dreading it because it does seem different, but we are saying to create the opportunities to make new memories. Excuse me. And to enjoy and embrace the newness, of your life.
Right.
And by the way, there's no reason not to incorporate something that was done in the past that you really enjoyed. You don't have to avoid it. Just don't assume that it's going to feel the same way or it's going to be the same way, because it's not going to be.
Right. And do something new. There's nothing wrong with that. But and it's kind of actually nice because you're self-nurturing, and you plan things that bring you comfort, I think.
Yeah.
Right? Things that you'll enjoy. Maybe I remember one year, and it was, of course, before my husband passed, before his mom passed, before his father-in-law passed, and we went and we had an early lunch at his sister's house, but then we decided to take some family photos. And we've never done that before. So we all made it a point to tell everybody to wear jeans and a white shirt. Right. And afterwards, it was a beautiful warm day, and we all took a ride over to the beach, and we had the most fun ever. Now they're not here. They would be a different missing piece of the puzzle, but you still love your family. You still have people that you care about. You could do something like that with everybody and do something new.
Yes.
And
yes.
hey, you might have such a good time that next year you'll say, let's do the same thing. And this will be a new tradition in your life, right?
Yes. And for those people who have some family challenges, there's nothing wrong with contacting friends. Friends may be afraid to contact you because they think, well, how's she going to feel and what's going to happen this year. But, you contacting them and saying, maybe we could do something together today.
Exactly.
Keep
Exactly.
doors
And
open.
and maybe the holiday has been a religious one for you in the past. Okay, maybe that's kind of wavered off a little bit in the last few years, the last decade, who knows? But maybe you want to renew your faith a little bit. And that would kind of be nice, to build your own religious holiday. Maybe you can reconnect with a friend or family members and attend a service. Look for some place with some inspirational music, and listen to messages of hope, and all these good feelings that do go on within different churches and all, and temples and different places will renew your own spirit moving forward. And that might be something you can incorporate.
Yes. And in fact, it's very common, of course, to look towards religion and faith after, horrible tragedies, and, when you're really feeling like, where do I turn now? So if you're comfortable with that and you feel that that's something that you want to consider, be my guest, go ahead. And again, find the right thing, find the thing that matches who you are.
There will be triggers in planning, for your occasion too, that bring up your loss, and then that can make you feel depressed and want to just pack it in, and I don't want to be a part of this. It's easy to do that. It's more challenging to put a smile on your face and to move on with the day. And it's a struggle for so many people, but it's important to take those baby steps and to bring these things into your life.
my philosophy is to embrace that, grief or that feeling of loss or depression and all. I think too many of us think, oh, I'm going to be like this, forever or the whole day or whatever. And it's interesting because usually coming up to that event, you have that dread and all, but then the day itself is not as bad as you might have thought. And that's true. That's been true in a lot of, birthdays coming up and anniversaries coming up. And I've seen it with a lot of people. And so it's okay. Don't let it frighten you. Be confident that, and that's the other thing. I think that people don't understand that they are stronger than they think. It's pretty amazing to all of us, resiliency and our courage and all, and our love of life and to live, though it's not the same. So I think that we need to say and give ourselves credit for our ability to, move on as best we can. We're not looking for miracles here, but we're looking for, being able to embrace new and changing lives.
And I wanted to bring up the fact, Lisa, that we do assist people with life celebrations. Okay. And it really, it's important on this holiday to still get together and maybe celebrate them in a way that you haven't done before. Even if the person that you love died 5 years ago, okay, it's still okay to celebrate their life and keep them a part of the family. It reminds me when we got together, and I believe it was for Easter, because it was a little chilly, it was spring, and we went to my mother-in-law's. My father-in-law had passed, but he always loved this particular tree. So all of us kids got together and chipped in and bought one of these trees it was only 3 feet tall. And after we ate, the grandchildren and all of us, actually, we went out there and we dug a hole and we planted this tree for Grandpa.
That's beautiful.
And that's like, it's a remembrance of a deceased loved one. And that's really important. It could be something as simple as looking at, let's pull out some photo albums and remember and look at all the old photographs at the table and talk about some of the memories.
Yes.
Planting a tree, or maybe thinking a little bit ahead of time. And what about like a memory garden, going to a nursery, picking up some of these stones and doing something intentionally out in the backyard. This was for Grandpa or Grandma, and we'll always remember her. Let's just say a little prayer, and you'll have the kids that are rolling their eyes and don't want to be apart, but it doesn't matter because they will come to appreciate, that you did that kind of thing as a family, and
that's beautiful.
That's beautiful to instill, right?
Yes, it is. And of course, I really like playing videos. I think to see people and kids when they were young, and instead, photos are great, but videos, there's something really magical about seeing them like that. So nice, very nice. So the point is that it may be different, may look different, might feel different and all, but we embrace it and make sure that you're still able to observe and create new holiday memories, and even bring up about the things that you enjoyed when you were young. It's never too late to do that as well.
And especially I think the adults have a responsibility to talk to the children, about the losses, about how everybody's grieving. About how the person would want us to be happy and talk about them and celebrate them, because the more you talk and communicate with everybody, it doesn't just get pushed under the rug, and they're not just forgotten. And it's important for kids to know this, because they will grow up fearing death, okay, and having anxiety, and we can avoid that for them. We can help them young to know that this is the circle of life. This will happen to everybody. And I love when I see families who really, really talk honestly and communicate with younger people, because those who don't, the children end up growing up with their own fears about death and dying. And believe me, you may not think so, but they remember.
Oh,
They
sure.
remember being told to go outside,
Yeah.
you know, and not be in the room. And that can be devastating. That brings fear into a child's life.
Sure.
Why? Why am I being pushed away? What's the big deal? It's that, oh, somebody's dying. Oh my God, I can't be around that.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
these are all frightening feelings that help us to grow up with our own
Yes. Fears.
sad things as we grow
Yes.
into adults, right?
Yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, and it's wonderful to bring up all kinds of things. You know, grandpa would have done this, or grandpa like this, or, you know, any of those things. I love doing that with my grandchildren, by the way. I think it's
Yeah.
really special. You know,
Well, you know, that's why you do what you do, and that's why you and I are here, because we think more with positivity when it comes to death.
yes,
We know
yes,
that it's a circle.
yes.
You know, we know that you and I may not be doing our videos tomorrow, and that's okay.
Yep.
That's okay. We're here for a brief moment, and we really need to embrace what we have now and be appreciative and grateful for the moments that we do have.
Beautifully
Right?
said.
So continue that. Continue
Yeah.
to do that with your families and
Yeah.
even the young children.
Yeah.
You know, and
Wonderful.
even the older people, because you know, a lot of seniors that are older seniors, you know, have their own fears of death and dying from being a child. And maybe that was never resolved.
Yeah.
Maybe that was never resolved. So, you know, maybe you can be the one to help them work through their own feelings so they're not so afraid when it comes to their end milestone.
Yeah. Yeah. Wonderful.
You know?
So you do that with some of the things that you have. Why don't you talk about some of those wonderful offerings that you have and that you get?
So as an end-of-life doula, that's really what I do. I come into a person's house when they have a terminal diagnosis, hopefully not during the last few weeks. I'd like to come into a person's home 6 or 9 months, you know, before that diagnosis, because that gives us time to work on some really nice things to help their family to grieve better afterwards and to help you as a person come full circle in your lifetime. I do some creative legacy work. We leave stories and memories and experiences in a 4-week project. It's a book that I built with audio and photos, and I'm more like the ghostwriter of the book. But that's a beautiful thing to leave for generations to come, and the generations you'll never get a chance to meet. It's your chance to leave your thumbprint in the world and to give your future family some roots, right? Some roots and confidence and knowing where they came from. So I do a lot of that work. I have some digital online courses. You can see the website up above. And I've come up with the Healing Garden, which is a grieving tool. It's a bowl of stones with special messages to help a person navigate a challenging time. There are 4 different themes, and that's been going really well as well. You can find that on my website. And Lisa, in your spare time?
In my spare time, yeah. You know, I'm a bereavement specialist. I'd love to work with groups. I do one-to-one as well. But, you know, my objective is to help people realize that grief is a part of your life, but grief isn't always the same amount of overwhelming, you know, feelings as it might be today. And that you do have a life, and that those who we love and loved us would want us to have a full life, whatever we have left. So making the most out of your life and moving on with your life, though celebrating those we lost and keeping them in our hearts forever. And that's really my philosophy. So I have 2 books, and both books support pancreatic cancer research, hopefully an eventual cure of this disease, which my husband died of 13 years ago. And the families in the book are very revealing. They're very honest about what they went through and all. And so I have those books, and they're on Amazon and all, but my website is www.familiesmoveon.com. And if you go through me directly, then more money goes to the organization. So I enjoy that.
Very good. Well said. Well, thank you. And we wish everybody a happy Passover, a happy Easter. And the spring's coming and new things are happening and the weather's finally getting warmer, get out into nature and do a little bit of walking and breathing,
Yes,
and we will move on. We
we will.
will. It's
We will.
inevitable. And you know, some people make that choice not to move on.
Yeah.
You know, and that's unfortunate to live in a sad place for the rest of the time that you're here on earth. You know, and maybe some of your experiences and things that you've gone through maybe can help somebody else think about it that way.
Yeah.
You know, maybe you can be a helping hand to somebody else.
Yeah.
So hang in there,
Good idea.
just breathe, start
Yep.
some new traditions and love the people in your life.
Yep.
With all your heart.
Yeah,
Right?
that's great. All right, Susan, take care. Thanks again.
Take care,
And we'll
Lisa.
see you next
We'll
week.
see you next week.
Okay, bye-bye.